Hello and welcome to CNBC TV 18. India-European Union ties are set for greater heights. Both EU presidents, Ursula von der Leyen and Antonio Costa, are here in New Delhi for a state visit. They will be meeting Prime Minister Modi. They will be holding bilateral and delegate-level conversations. They will address a business forum. And the highlight of this big visit is going to be a mega free trade agreement, which has been called mother of all trade deals. Joining us to talk about the importance of this trade deal for India and Europe at a time of great global uncertainty is Maros Sefcovic. Maros Sefcovic is the EU Trade Commissioner. Thank you so much for joining us, Commissioner Sefcovic. Let me begin by asking you, the world is in turmoil right now, politically and trade-wise. Amidst all of this, how do you see these trade negotiations with India?
I think you said it very, very rightly. I mean, we are working on, indeed, mega deal, mega agreement. If we succeed, and I believe that we are very, very close, so this would be also biggest trade agreement from the perspective of the market we are creating for almost 2 billion consumers with a highly dynamic, fast-growing economy like India and biggest trader on this planet, which is the European Union. So I think that in these times of uncertainty, that's a very important signal that we want to lower the tariffs. We want to trade as partners. We are looking for mutually win-win solutions for our trade and create lots of new jobs and lots of new opportunities for our businesses. So for us, it's a strategic priority. We managed with my very good colleague and friend, Minister Piyush Goyal, to inject this momentum. We met more than 10 times in the course of the last year, and I believe that it will bring us a good result.
Right. So what exactly are we going to see on the 27th of January? Are we going to see an announcement on the conclusion of talks or the signing of the deal?
We are working very, very hard to announce the conclusion of the talks. As you know, these are always the last nerve-wracking moments when you are comparing, the notes, the text, the figures, and therefore really want to do our best until the last minute. But I think we have to frame also this mega agreement, as you describe it, in a bigger strategic framework, because both leaders, Ursula von der Leyen, President of the Commission, Antonio Costa is the President of the European Council. It means that he presides over his European peers, heads of states and governments in the European Union. They are here, plus the High Representative who is leading the efforts in the foreign policy. So free trade agreement is a very important component, but we are working on strategic agenda. We are working on the cooperation in the field of mobility, and I just believe that all this would lead to very close relationship, to strategic relationship between India and the European Union, and the formation of the new global supply chains, to formation of the new trade relationship which would protect us from this huge turmoil and volatility we are going through right now.
Right. So if you had to explain this to an average person in Europe or in India, European Union has a number of free trade agreements. How would you describe the one with India? How does this compare to the rest?
I think that clearly from the perspective of dynamism of the deal and the sheer size of Indian and European market, clearly this is the biggest one. If you are looking about the tariff reduction, which we hope to achieve, we are talking around 4 billion euros a year. So this is the same number we got with the countries from Mercosur, and I know how important this figure is for the businesses from the both sides. On top of it, our aim is to double our trade in goods and services. Currently, it's around 180 billion. So within 5 years, we can double this number, and I think it's quite significant. And really, what I think is the most important for your viewers and for European viewers is how this would contribute to the new job creation. So already today, we have 800,000 jobs in Europe, depending on our trade in India, and we haven't started yet. In India, we have already right now 6,000 companies, and which created already by now 3.7 million jobs. So imagine if you can really double that, if you can double the investment stock, which is currently 140 billion euros invested by the European companies. So these are all opportunities, and therefore we made it very clear with my very good colleague Piyush Goyal that we have to start And I'm sure that the reality will show what is the true potential of our relationship, because in my experience with our trade deals, of course, we are very cautious when we are signing the deal, but usually the reality is always much better than the projections, than the predictions, and I'm absolutely sure that this will be the case of India as well.
Right. So what would be your expectation and hope in terms of the average tariff in India coming down for European exports?
I think average tariff, and I know that you have lots of expertise in that regard, it's a little bit a misleading number, because you are measuring the tariffs only for the goods which are actually traded. And because of very high tariffs, until today, a lot of sectors been closed. So I really believe that our goal would be to get to 97, 99%, let's see the final numbers of partial or full tariff liberalization. And I believe that it would completely open new avenues, new possibilities, again for both, because it was very clear that if you are to succeed, it must be good for India, it must be good for Europe, and I think that we are aiming to achieve that goal. So therefore, the number, I think, would be really relevant and could be calculated more precisely when we see how the new markets open. But with that level of liberalization, I hope we will get there. I think it's obvious that, of course, this would go quite significantly down as well.
Right. So you're saying you're hoping for a significant tariff reduction or complete tariff reduction on 99% of items?
It depends, because this is, I would say, one of the last point, what we are negotiating right now. But that's the number, 97 to 99. And then, of course, there is always, that's what the teams are discussing right now, what is the partial, what is the full liberalization. And you can imagine that you would recall that in some cases the tariffs in India been around 140, 150%. So we appreciate that this is very significant effort from the Indian side, but also from our side. So we've been really looking what we can do to maximize the benefit of this free trade agreement, to maximize the complementarity of our economies. Because if you look, for example, at pharmaceutical business and the production, we are completely intertwined. If you look at machinery, where Europe is very strong and India has a huge potential and huge demand, again, how much we can gain if we integrate our supply chains much more than before. So I think that all this is kind of pointing to the big business and investment opportunities. Therefore, I'm very happy that part of the summit will be also the business forum, where we will have a chance to kind of go through the concrete projects with the investors. And both Minister Goyal and myself, we would like to bring a certain regularity in our meetings. So we will be regularly checking, how the agreement is implemented, how the investors are coming, what are the additional problems we have to look at. I'd like to manage it in a positive sense, that we will kind of milk the most of this agreement for both sides.
Right. Some issues such as automobiles and wines and spirits made in Europe, where are we heading to that? Could you give us a sense of where we could land with the tariff arrangement?
I think that if it comes to both sectors, of course, they are very important, and I think we've been very careful from the both sides to start with the right ambition in the right spot. So therefore, if it comes to agri-food commodities, and I think this is where the ball started rolling last year, that we both agreed, let's leave out the most sensitive commodities, because that was kind of blocking the progress for a long time. I mean, this agreement is more than 10 years in the making, so we had to change some ways to actually achieve this progress. And therefore, I would say, I think in this field, again, we found a satisfactory outcome. And at the same time, if it comes to automotive industry, I fully understand that what was very important for Indian side was to make sure that your automotive segment will also grow in the future. And again, I think we are quite complementary. India is very strong in small and cheaper cars. European Union is strong in bigger machines. So we are looking at the way which would kind of help us to find the solutions, how we can also create new supply chains, how we can make a even better business case for European car makers. and at the same time to open also this new possibility for cooperation for ET and car makers. I mean, in such a big deals like this, you need to look for common approach, mutual understanding, and best outcome for both. And I believe that we are heading in the direction.
Right. So will automobiles be subject to a tariff reduction quota, a phased reduction over the years?
I think we are looking for the combination of all of this, and we also are doing our utmost to factor in that also our markets are different. I mean, European car market is 2.5 times bigger than the Indian car market, but your market is very dynamic. It's growing, and I understand that every 8 years could double. So therefore, we are also building on this in making sure that this agreement, as I said, should be regularly looked at. We can always look for the ways how we can optimize it and adjust it to the dynamism and real reality which will emerge once this deal is being implemented.
Are you satisfied with the discussions on wines and spirits and how European makers will get access to the Indian market?
I think that, as I said, I will be 100% sure once everything is concluded, but our discussion on this was positive. Of course, you have a formidable negotiating teams, I have to admit that. So it was, I would say, very thorough negotiations. We went through every single item, through every single product, through every single assessment of the transition period. And I think that your team was protecting every single sensitivity on your market, and we've been doing the same for us. So therefore, in the end, I believe that if we shake hands on Tuesday, that would be really the good deal also for these sectors and for both India and European Union.
I just like to clarify one point before we move ahead. Does one assume that sensitive red lines on agriculture and dairy for both India and European Union, they've been respected?
They've been respected, yes.
They've been respected.
Yeah.
So wheat, rice, maize, dairy, they're out of...
Let's wait until Tuesday, okay?
All right. So let me also move to some of the Indian priority sectors. Yeah. How do you expect Indian businesses, exporters to benefit?
I think tremendously, because, I mean, you have a huge growth potential. And I think that we already see that Indian businesses are already by now very active on the European market. And it's your IT experts are well known, not only in Europe, but on the worldwide basis. And also your growth in the pharmaceutical industry, in machinery, all this is quite known. And I think that we are biggest trading bloc on the planet with the unprecedented consumer power. And therefore, I think that would be the main attraction for the Indian businesses and Indian exporters. And then, of course, the cooperation in all other fields, the mutual investments and mutual approach, how to develop the business cases. And we, again, understood that at this stage, what was very important for India, there's been so-called labor-intensive industries, for example, like textiles, and there we've been looking for the solutions, how to make the best possible offer to India and how to implement it as soon as possible. So this is both being finalized now, and I believe that if we get to the full agreement, that would be very good news for Indian industry.
All right, Mr. Sefcovic, just hold that thought. I have to take a short break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. This conversation with European Union's Trade Commissioner continues on the other side.